So, welcome everyone. I think most of you probably know me from having studied abroad, but I'm Bridget Flaherty. I'm the Director of Global Engagement at the Chicago School, and I am joined today by our Career Services folks, Elka Hart and James DeJesus, and they are going to go over some information that I think will be helpful for you, talking about how you can incorporate the experience you had studying abroad into your career and different ways that you can talk about that, incorporate it into your documents like cover letter, resume, things along those lines. So I'm going to hand it over to the two of you.
All right. Thanks so much, Bridget, for having us. And thank you all for joining. I'm Elka, and I have been with the Chicago School for about 6.5 years. I did start on the LA campus, so well aware of the the sunshine there. I am working remotely now from Eastern Pennsylvania. So, Bridget invited us to have a discussion about how you can leverage your study abroad experience, as unique as it is, because you didn't go there for a semester or a year, right, and like live there. But the experience is valuable nonetheless for a variety of reasons. And so we just wanted to talk a little bit about, as Bridget mentioned, how do you put that information on your resume? How do you discuss it in interviews? And how does it impact your career moving forward? So this is what we'll talk about, how the experience impacts your career, how to apply it to a job you're in right now or a future position, and just putting it into your application materials, discussing it in interviews. And then James is going to discuss our online resource called Going Global, which, if you're not familiar with it, please be sure to stick around because it's, as I like to call it, our hidden treasure. I think that it's really just a super resource that not enough of our students are aware of. So the impact of study abroad, I think, is far-reaching. And before I get into this, I was just reflecting on the fact that each of us has a very different experience, I think, if you go and study abroad, just based on how you were raised, where your family is from, ancestry, where you were born, your environment growing up, any languages that you might speak. Um, so much of it, I think, really affects the experience and then what you can take out from it. So maybe not all of this will apply, um, but I encourage you to keep an open mind, um, and just see what resonates with you. So, because your experience was probably quite short, if I'm not mistaken, I think that most of the study abroad experiences are just around 2 weeks. Is that right, Bridget?
Yep.
So, but if you think back, like, was anything like unexpected for you, or did anything happen that made you maybe uncomfortable? Do you find that you had to adjust very quickly to specific situations? Were any of your assumptions challenged? And really, just overall, if you think back, what did you learn about yourself? Again, if you've traveled before, then it might have been a very different experience than a first time, going overseas for the very first time. Um, it could be that it was your first time on a plane. I mean, that, sometime has to be your first time. So, what was that your experience, or have you flown so much in your life that this was like not a big deal? But what did you learn about yourself on this trip? And then certainly considering transferable skills. So these are skills that you take from one situation or experience that you can then utilize in another setting. In the world of work, we consider transferable skills those that you can utilize in any kind of industry, or um, work environment or position. They're not specific to any one profession, right? So there are many that you can pull from your study abroad experience. These are just a few of them. Just being able to adapt really quickly, learning agility, right? You're in a new space, you're gaining a lot of information. It's kind of like taking summer classes, I think, back in high school, um, where you just had to learn a whole lot in a short amount of time. Taking initiative in unfamiliar settings. There might have been a situation where you had to kind of just go for it, even though you didn't quite know where you were, what you're supposed to be doing. Certainly, your interpersonal skills will have, developed further. Professional exposure, whether to people or sites or just the culture in general. Um, and then global awareness and cultural humility were certainly skills I imagine that you um, were developing during your time as well. So if you consider applying your study abroad experience to either the job you're in right now or to a future career, um, what you want to remember is that the study abroad experience itself might not be like the the point or the thing that you want to emphasize in itself, but really the skills and behaviors that you demonstrated during your time there. So that's what we're trying to think about are your skills and your behavior. Okay, so a couple of examples on the slide. So the experience was a 2-week study abroad program. A skill that you might have developed further was adaptability. And so, how can you apply that in the workplace? By handling change in a very fast paced job, right? You got to always be changing and moving. So, that's adaptability. The second example, and perhaps you didn't do this, but just an example of having to navigate public transportation in a new country that can become certainly very overwhelming, especially if you don't know the language. So you use your problem solving skills, and that's certainly helpful in ambiguous work environments, right? You don't really know, again, what you're supposed to be doing or how, but you figure it out because you have to. So just looking at similar information in a different way is trying to translate what you did into what it is that employers need. So when you're reading a job description, you're always going to find a qualification section, right? And that lets you know what the employer wants from you in terms of skills, qualifications, background, experience. So the things that you did during your study abroad, like navigating unfamiliar places, that again can mean problem solving in ambiguity, right? I see problem solving on most every job posting that I see. Um, and so recognizing that you had to do that during your study abroad, most likely, um, allows you to say, yes, I have that skill, and here's how I, fine tuned it during my study abroad time. Interacting across cultures, that translates into communication and teamwork, adjusting quickly to new norms, again, being very adaptable, completing projects in a new setting, that goes towards work ethic and learning agility. And then even just managing your travel and logistics and all of that, just getting ready to go and then getting everything ready again to come back from your study abroad. What does that mean for a job? Well, you're very organized, if you didn't miss the point, and planning, right? So you might already be aware of all of this, but if you aren't, then it is helpful to take some time to reflect on the experience, not only from an academic perspective or a personal one, but also from a professional and career perspective to see just how much value it can bring um, again, to an existing position and just kind of understanding, wow, I can really utilize these new skills that I've fine-tuned in my current position. Or if you are in the job search and looking for a position, how you can speak to these during the interview, etc. So again, just some workplace scenarios where you can transfer your experience into the situation. So if you're just starting a new job, during my study abroad program, I had to get up to speed quickly in a completely new environment. So that connects to onboarding, right? It sounds exactly like that. You have to get to up to speed pretty quickly in a new position, and learning curves. Working on a team, I worked with people from different backgrounds, had to adjust how I communicated. So that, speaks to collaborating and communication skills. Handling challenges when plans change unexpectedly. I had to problem solve in real time. So that goes to resilience and being flexible. And then if you work a lot with customers and clients, the example here, I became more aware of how different perspectives shape expectations. Um, and that connects to empathy and service. So again, just other ways that you can kind of see how the different skills you've developed or further developed um, can help you in your position. So when we talk about putting this information on your resume or CV, there was certainly a time, and I know even I did that, when in your education section, you would just simply list the school that was, hosting the program, the country you attended, the dates, and that was it. So what they're encouraging now is to really write out some bullet points in a similar fashion that you would any other work experience piece. So where you're using action verbs and showcasing your skills. So you're not just stating like the facts of it, but explaining, what it is that you did and learned. So I took this information from a description of a program that we offer. This is actually going next year, but I changed it to it already happened. But if you want to include it in your education section, then this is an example of how you could format it. So you just state Chicago School and then your campus, and then the name of the program, Cultural Connections with South Africa, and when it was, April 2026, and then, how long it was for. And then just a couple of bullets, which I completely stole exactly from Bridget's webpage. I don't encourage you to do that, but rewrite it in your own words. But participated in a faculty-led program, focused on behavioral analyses and cross-disciplinary interventions, engaged with local orgs to explore clinical treatments, and demonstrated adaptability by navigating new cultural and environmental contexts. So that last one, again, is showing more about the skills that you've developed, right? How you utilize them, why they came up. So I think that this is a very common way to include study abroad on your document. Some other examples and something that they encourage for shorter term experiences such as yours would be to include it in more of a project section, or even in your experience section, particularly if it included some kind of structured work like service learning, if you did research, site visits, where you can really describe the work that you did or the experience you had in several bullets. And then again, the format would be just like a work experience section. And then a third option, which some people will do, again, just depending on your background, if you've had extensive international experience, if you were born in a different country, if you speak, more than two languages, if you've traveled extensively, if you've worked in different countries, if that's just been your experience, like from day one, then an international experience section, completely separate from everything else, can be very valuable, particularly if, let's say, you're in a job search looking for something uh, global, right? So if you're currently living in the States but want to work somewhere in Europe or Africa or Asia, wherever, then having an international experience section can prove very valuable, just to show the employers that you're, comfortable and familiar with traveling and meeting people from other countries, um, that you've yourself lived already somewhere else, um, and all of that. So, again, may not apply to all of you, um, but if you have the opportunity to add that to a resume, I think it's kind of cool. Could certainly help you to stand out. And then in the cover letter, I am of the belief that cover letters should be required when job searching. Certainly, not everybody agrees with me, which is fine. But I have my reasons for why I think that they can sometimes break a tie, right? When a recruiter is just sifting through tons of resumes and they all sort of start to look the same. Um, if somebody has also written a cover letter, it makes a difference because we get to know you just a little bit better. And you have the opportunity to not just repeat what's on your resume, but you've got a whole page to say something more, right? Um, about yourself, about your experience, about connecting your experience with the job you're applying for. So, adding a line or two about your study abroad experience can again be a differentiator, right? It can put you, set you apart from the other candidates. So these are just two examples of how you might word the experience. And the first one, my experience strengthened my ability to navigate cross-cultural environments, a skill that I'm eager to bring to your team. So simply showing that you had the experience, you developed a skill that you're excited to use there. And, I might suggest maybe elaborating a little bit more on like how you're going to do it or why you want to do it. But then the second one, my experience navigating a new cultural environment strengthened my adaptability, which aligns with your team's fast-paced work environment. So what this line is doing is matching what you have with the company's mission statement, perhaps, or one of their values, right? Or something that you've learned about their culture, which they always appreciate because it shows that you've done research, you understand a little bit more about their organization, and that, again, you have something that will fit in really well with that. So, whenever possible, try and just add a line or two about your study abroad experience. When it comes to interviews, perfect opportunity to speak about your experience. Sometimes when it's a short-term program, individuals might worry, well, it was just like a 2-week thing. Employers are not going to think it's that big a deal, and they're probably going to think I just traveled around with a backpack. And so you might say something, although the program was short term, it was actually intensive, it was faculty led, where I did XYZ. And so what that's showing is credibility, right? You didn't just take your backpack and stay in youth hostels. And even if you did, that would have been fine. But that it's actually a program from school, there was faculty there, there were goals and outcomes, there was a structure, right? And there was intentional learning. So it was purposeful. And here's what you learned from it, right? So you want to make sure that you're sharing all of that with the employer. Just wanted to remind you about the STAR technique when it comes to interviewing. It's been around a long time, and sometimes they call it CAR now, and I can't even remember what the C stands for. James, any idea?
Oh, what is C? I can't remember either.
Right?
It's like,
I guess it'll come back to us. But the star, this is valuable when they are asking you what we call behavioral questions. So they want to know about a very particular situation that you've been in and how you handled it. So you want to use the STAR technique by addressing the situation and task. You want to describe that. And then the A stands for action, and that's the action you took to get through that situation or task. And then the R stands for result. So, what was the result of the action you took, right? So, some things that you might want to think about are maybe there was a challenging group dynamic that happened during the trip. Things maybe didn't go as planned. There we go. James put it in the chat. CAR stands for context, action, and result. So instead of situation or task, but it's ultimately the same concept. Maybe another example is navigating a language barrier during a site visit or adjusting quickly to a different cultural norm. So in STAR situations or behavioral questioning, you want to emphasize specific moments, taking actual examples of something that you've gone through. And if by chance they ask you a question that you've just never experienced, then you would say that. But then you would say, but if I were to have been in that situation, here's how I would have handled it. You don't get off by, scot-free by saying that you don't have any experience with that. You still have to answer it. So you have to give them a hypothetical. So here's a couple of examples. So tell me about a time that you faced a challenge, right? Describe a time you worked with different people. How do you handle change? Tell me about a time you learned something very quickly. So those are examples of behavioral interviewing questions where they want you to describe a very specific situation. And so you can pull from your study abroad experience for these situations, right? So it's a rather lengthy example answer here. I just kind of wanted to show you a way to answer. So during a short-term study abroad program, I had to quickly adapt to a new cultural environment. For example, when working on a project with individuals from different backgrounds, we initially had different communication styles. I adjusted by asking more clarifying questions and being more flexible in how we collaborated. As a result, we completed the project successfully. That experience strengthened my ability to adapt and communicate effectively in team settings, which I know is important in this role. So, again, you get to pull from your study abroad experience. You're explaining a situation that ended positively in this situation, and then connecting it to something that's important in that position, right? So they know that you can handle that if it happens at the job. Okay. And just to remind you all that we do mock interviews in our office. We're always happy to schedule that with you if you'd like to work through these questions with us. So that's my part. I just wanted to leave our email address on here if you have any questions or want to reach out for some reason. But I am going to hand it over to James to talk about going global.
hi everyone. I'm James. I am the coordinator of career services. I'm actually on the Chicago campus, so if anyone's in Chicago, I'm usually in the office Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 9 to 5. So if you ever have any questions, anything career services related, please stop by. I'm on the sixth floor for now until we move in a month. So to be determined where I'll be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple resources that we have, to help you, if you're curious about other countries, trying to search for jobs, trying to learn like other cultures, things like that. We have this program called going global. And I'm gonna go share my screen real quick to show you where it's at. Can everyone see? Perfect. So, in order to get into this other resource, Going Global, you will have to go into your Handshake account. I just want to remind everyone that every student has a Handshake account. It's going to be their student email and their password. And to join Handshake, it's just joinhandshake.com/login to get into it. Again, just use your school email and your school password. So once you're logged in, this is what it looks like. This is the home page for a student. And so again, just to remind everyone, you can use Handshake as like another alternative resource to like LinkedIn and Indeed to search for a job here on the States. But if you're more curious about like resources for going global, again, this is how you go into it. So this link right here, once you log in, you can go to Career Center. If you click this link right here, it'll take you to this page. So here you can actually book one-on-one appointments with us, look into collections if you're looking for a particular job in different parts of the campus, uh, the different campuses throughout the country. We also have resources, and that's where the Going Global link is going to be. So if you click resources right here, you will see all our resources, and then you can see them all broken into different tabs. Like we have guides on resume, CV writing, interview tips. Alka and I are part of First Gen, so we have some First Gen resources, international students, past web recordings, cover letters, McNair scholars, career panels, job searches, handshaking, network, volunteer opportunities, and study abroad. So again, keeping it high level to going global. It is, if you just go to all resources, it is the second page on your on in Handshake. So you click this link right here. I'm working on some guides, it just gives you a brief overview of going global, of what resources are on there. And so again, Going Global is a comprehensive career and employment resource toolkit, filled with everything you need to find jobs and internships home and abroad. I just want to always clarify with Going Global, it's not just an international resource. There's also city guides for the United States. And so once you are in here, you just have to click this link right here to access Going Global. I'm not going to bother clicking it. I have it up here already. And so this is going to take you to the homepage. I want to also remind everyone that to get into this, it's just like a one-time thing to do in Handshake. You don't have to go through this convoluted process to get into this link. So after you're here, you want to go and create an account for Going Global. I want to make sure that you all know it's free. Like, there's no money involved. This is free. This is with you forever. So once you do that, you can click this login right here, and this is where you're gonna create your account. And so you can link it or you can just create your account right here. To save time, I'm not going to go do that. And so I'm going to just use a thing that I'm logged in already. This is how it looks like. This is me. It has my name, James, and everything on there. So I know it looks a lot overwhelming. It's like, where do you go? So going global is really cool because, again, as I mentioned, there's career guides all across the country and the world. And so if you are interested in learning more about a country, you go right up here to career guides. And here will be a drop down of different countries, global city career guides, US city career guides, and up-to-date career news. If you click on country career guides, you can see a very elaborate list of all different countries that are on here. And so I'm kind of curious just to get some engagement. Like, is there a country anyone's like interested in learning more about? Anyone? No?
I went to Asia to visit Japan.
You went to Japan? Very cool. All right, so if you're interested in like learning about Japan, you just click right here. And again, if you need like a quick snapshot, you can do a video and quick tour. But like here are different topics of like finding a job, hiring opportunities, getting the job, professional and networking, living there, and then also general resources. So again, it's super cool. And what's really nice about this guide too is, and I'll show you later, is that you can actually save different countries that you might be interested in, and you're able to like pull it up if you need to like reference something if this is something of interest. So, Leo, I'm kind of curious, is there something in particular that you want to know more about the career guide in Japan?
Um, Hiring opportunities.
Hiring opportunities. So there's a couple tabs right here. It's like top companies and employment and industry trends. So we'll just click right here and see what are some of like the top companies. And so right here, you have like a list of different companies that you can follow. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you can actually save this. So I'm going to save this if I want to pull this back up to see what I want to know. So like if you're interested, is there anyone in Leo, is there anything in particular you might be interested in learning more about? Like anyone that's jumping out to you?
Um, we can see if they have any like consulting.
Consulting? Okay, let's see. Hmm. I am not seeing any consulting right here. Let's see. But again, these are like the top companies that are on here. And so maybe I'm gonna try just for the sake of it looks like it's a lot of like financial. So maybe I'll try 3DM Japan products right here and just see where it is. So here, if you find a top company, you're able to find like, if there's a company that jumps to you, you can find their URL. You can actually find their location where they're at, and you get more of like a description of where they're at. So it's kind of pretty cool. It's kind of cool, like again, trying to learn, like especially if you're in the States and you're trying to like if you're deciding to move to a different country, what is out there and what's going on. So I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to also click another good thing I like is the employment and industry trends. And you can see like the different employment overviews. You can honestly, with this resource, you can really get lost like in it. There's just so much stuff in it. Especially with like if you're interested in utilizing this as a different, you know, if you're thinking of moving to a different country. So like Japan, fifth largest world economy, the unemployment rate is low compared to other developed economies, things like that. High level overview of the country, key employment trends, things like that. I'm gonna go quickly to again reminding everyone that this is not just a international thing. There is a US city and career guide, which I really like too. Again, if you're, again, I look at it as maybe again like another alternative resource if you're even thinking of just moving to a different part of the country here. So, like for example, like I'm gonna click Chicago because I'm in Chicago proper. Same thing, like finding a job, hiring opportunities, getting the job, living there. So I'm gonna click living there just so I know this is just for like this in the States, but like they also have this for all the different countries. And so I think it's also super important when using this as a resource to find jobs and things like that to also know where you're going, knowing what to do, getting accustomed to the culture, knowing what is appropriate and what isn't. Every culture has very different things. So like again, I'm keeping this high level just because it's the city. And so like Chicago, again, this is just like Chicago. Here's all the information about Chicago, 1833, Sinatra, my kind of town. Yeah, so again, super cool. Such a cool resource for everything here. Also, another cool tool is the professional associations that each guide has, like networking. Maybe I'll pick a city, a global city. I'm gonna pick, since my friend's going to Mexico City, I'm gonna pick Mexico City. And so like what's really cool is like there's professional networking on here as well. Um, Again, it's like this is a way to, find different professional associations. Like here's a list of like accounting and financing and all the different groups that you can try to network with to help, develop your job, things like that. So again, please take advantage of it. This is a super cool tool that you could do. And I even tap into like a lot of the other things. Like there's career news that you can look into. Like this is up pretty much up to date. Like I just saw this, like if you're thinking of studying in Sweden, they're going to change the rules or looking to move, here's check out Portugal's residency options, things like that. Very cool. It's very like what I like about going global. It's very up to date. It's very fresh. They are really, really good at keeping up with content. You can also use it to search for jobs. It's not a very, I won't lie, it's not a very in-depth job search system, but again, this is a great way to search for jobs. You can use it to search for different countries. It's pretty, so if I'm looking for a psychology job in Ukraine, nothing, but yeah, that's just very, again, another alternative to using, um, to searching for jobs. And then, of course, there's webinars. And so, like, there's a lot, like, for those that are, for F1 and H1B, um, webinars on international talents, things like that. So, like, again, great resources to use if that's something, if your interest of just learning about more about like a different country, different area, definitely check it out. And there's really one more thing I do want to show before. There's this really, I understand sometimes like reading a lot of content and things like that, it can get a little boring and it just gets overwhelming sometimes. And so there's this really cool resource that Going Global uses. They partnered up with this company called Culture Wizard. And again, I just want to make sure it's free. It's all there for you. And so right here, if you go to Boost Your Culture IQ, if you click right here, it'll take you to the Culture Wizard. And this is like more of like, I kind of look at it as more of like, it's like edutainment in a way. It's just more like interactive, fun way to, and it's a fun way to like learn about like different cultures and different parts of the world. Also, what I like about it is the fact that you kind of learn a lot about yourself. Like I took some of the quizzes and I learned really a lot about myself in terms of like my work style and then like how other cultures see me. So if you want to get started and really want to learn more in a fun way to um, learn about different cultures, you just click that link that I clicked right here, getting started. It should take you to a home page. I have my homepage up here. And so this is my homepage. I've taken some like fun quizzes and things like that. I know it's like kind of a lot. And so I always recommend those that are starting to take the calculator suite. That's like kind of like the jump point for me. It'll help you like know where you're at career wise. So I took it a year ago. I kind of want to retake it again to see where I'm at in terms of how I am as a worker. And so it'll ask you like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of your time for like questions and different things like that of your personality. So this is where I'm at. I'm pretty much almost centered, it looks like. Maybe a couple few things like I do value work-life balance. I'm formality, it depends on the situation I am. Change averse, I lean towards that. Time, I'm either or. So, but what I really like about this personality cultural profile is that you can compare it to like other countries. So like this is my stuff. And so to see like how other countries and how other people work styles are, you just click add country. And I'm Filipino, so I'm gonna see how I align with other Filipinos. So I'm gonna click the Philippines if I can find it. all the way down here. And so you can see with like how other countries, I'm sorry, I'm pointing up because my slides are up. Um, you can see where like other people that those that live in the Philippines compared to where I'm at. So like again, if you're like deciding, hey, I maybe want to try living in a different country, hey, maybe I should take this quiz and then see where how other people are. So like communication, I kind of like more direct, but it's kind of funny. Uh, they like more interact. Uh, time, they're more fluid, things like that. Again, what's nice is you can also add another country. So I'm gonna pick Japan again just for the sake of, and so you can see right here where people in Japan fall into. So like indirect, controlled, things like that. It's super cool. Like I love it. I always use it. You can always retake it. I'm gonna probably retake it and see where I'm at from. Maybe take a screenshot first and then see what happens when I retake it. And so there's that. So like let's say I like into a country like okay, I kind of want to go to Japan now. So you can go home and you can see you can use the search bar, and this might be easier. So you can do working with Japan. I guess there's no Japan. I'll use the Philippines, for example. So like there is, it looks like I took this a long time ago, but like you get like whoa, you get like montages, an overview, culture, all these different strategies, and then they also give you a quiz towards the end. So again, I like it. It kind of gives you a way of like again seeing what you want to know more about, if this country is right for you, if this isn't, again, a very powerful resource. And then I this is more of like a fun thing. Oh, there's Japan. But they have really good fun content on here. I'm gonna go to my save content real quick. And I really like this featured question that they do. It's kind of like a interactive, that lets me click it. I'm gonna refresh. Whoops. And if I'm going too fast, by the way, please let me know. Please stop me if just let me know. But let's see. So this one is all their questions. So like they do a featured question. I think they do it like once a week. But like they have different questions every week. Like this question, for example, what strategies do you find effective for building strong relationships and communications with international colleagues and clients? And what's really cool is that you can add to the discussion and you can see all the different replies from all across the country and the world. There's one from Canada. What is this one? I wish I can click that to see who that person's from. England, Mexico. You could like interact with people, and they also have past questions too. Um, like what's your favorite proverb or traditional saying that is unique to your home and country? It's super, super cool. Again, just another way to like while I know like you want to learn more about the country, you get to actually know about like all the different people. Like, and that's what's really important. Like when you're going international, deciding to make a big leap to go to a different country to really, really understand everything. And then I forgot one more thing. I'm gonna go back to going global real quick. And I just want to show you that again, you can save all your it lets me, I don't know what's going on. You can always go to your My Going Global account, and this is where you can see all your save guides. So, I just put example jobs. You can save different kind of profiles on here. So if you are like, oh, I want to go back to Australia, or I'm thinking about Australia, or I want to look more into Chicago, very easy to pull up, things like that. So that is a kind of a quick high level overview. If you have like any questions or want to learn more about it, again, feel free to reach out to our email at careerservices@thechicagoschool.edu. Just again, as a reminder, this is free. All you have to do is just go into that handshake step. If you need me to help walk you through, or Alka, we can help you to get into Going Global to take advantage of this like huge comprehensive resource. So yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that's all I have, Alka. But does anyone have questions? Does anyone have anything on like Alka's slide or anything you want me to show in the Going Global, things like that?
I know I'll be sending the slides to you, Bridget, that you can
Great.
share with the students.
Thank you. One thing that I just heard from someone last week who went on one of our programs last spring, she's a clinical psychology student, and she mentioned that she had added her study abroad experience to her resume. And then this spring, she's been going through the process to find an internship site for next year. She said that there's often not a chance to really make yourself stand out during the process, but that she noticed that in every one of her interviews, they asked her about her study abroad experience. And she thinks that that actually might have helped her stand out when they were comparing very similar resumes. So I just thought that was really great to hear like a specific example of a student using that in their resume. And it seemed like that was beneficial for her in finding a site.
Thank you for sharing that. It's always encouraging to hear it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. I'll share the video and the slides with everyone. And as James said, you can reach out to them if you have other questions as well, specific to the career services and the support that they can provide and resources they have. And then I'll be reaching out about this soon, but just a reminder that especially for those of you who've studied abroad just in this past year, that we do have our annual photo and video contests that you can submit videos or photos that you took during the program. That will be opening up in the fall, but I'll send out an email soon. And if any of you are interested at all in sharing your experience with other students, encouraging other students to go on a study abroad program, so it might be like taking part in a student panel, helping out with an info session with your faculty for a future program, going to the same location, something along those lines, please reach out to me. Either you can find my email directly or studyabroad@thechicagoschool.edu. I know that students have found it really helpful. You might have as well, but hearing from other students and what their experiences were like, that can be helpful in them making a decision to study abroad. So thank you all and have a good evening.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having us.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.